Hey there friends, it's Friday and we're doing a props from the past video for you, digging up an old video from our YouTube channel and doing a little bit of commentary.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We haven't done one of these in a while. If you haven't seen these before, if you're a new patron or YouTube membership subscriber, we do what Bill just said. But if you want to go see the other videos on Patreon, there is a playlist for props from the past. It should be up at the top of our Patreon page. You can just click on to watch them. And on YouTube in the community section, you'll just have to scroll down, or I think you can just search for the words props from the past.
Yeah.
Because we've done like, I think over 10 of them now. Mm-hmm. And they're really fun and very enlightening.
Yes, it's always a good time going back and seeing how we used to make videos, how we used to make props, and commenting on it. Today's video is a metal casting video. We've done a lot of pewter casting, and this one is a part of my Blade Runner guide. Actually, the in the background there.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, it's the first Blade Runner guide I did. This is the RAC props kit that I got and put together. Now, when I was building this, some of the parts on this were made from white metal, which is usually tin or pewter. And it was this piece here. Actually, that is the original. I don't know what I did with the, that's the original, I can tell because it's all twisted. And I fixed it, but why is the new one I made not on there? Did I never put it on there?
That's a good question.
That is a great question. Anyway, I cast a new part out of pewter, and that's the video that we're going to be going over. And we went into the video applying some of the things we had learned about metal casting leading up to that.
I like how the metal parts of this that are actually metal, how they feel cold. Mm-hmm. Like that, and of course they're heavy, but just like that feeling of like, yep, that's metal. That's really neat.
Yeah.
And maybe in this video we'll find out why you never...
Well, I never actually replaced it.
I mean, since this was a live stream, it could be that we were just looking for something to play around with.
It's true.
And then we never followed through, so.
All right, well, let's dive in. It's about a 10-minute video, and we'll see how it goes. And we just jump headlong into it.
It's been a little while since we've done some metal casting. So I've got my ingot of pewter here, got a new mold, and got all my safety gear. Let's do this. I'm replacing this part of my Blade Runner blaster, and I want to cast it out of pewter. And I've got a mold made out of Mold Max 60, which is a high temp silicone. And since the last time I've done some metal casting, I've learned quite a bit.
The part there was printed on the Form 2. I 3D modeled a new one from scratch to make the copy. And it printed out really nicely. And then I just made a 2-part mold.
Thanks to the comments in our previous videos. The first thing, I've got these plates of aluminum here so that when I close up my mold, I can clamp them together with that. This is opposed to the wood that I used before. The wood was fine, but it did get a little burned from the molten metal. The main difference is going to be I'll wrap it up with wire instead of rubber bands. The last time I did this, I poured metal and some of it dripped out the side, hit the rubber bands, and they instantly melted, and the mold opened. That's
yeah,
no good.
Poor molten metal went spewing everywhere. With a mold like that too, you could clamp it, but you don't want the clamp to be so strong that it deforms the silicone. Mold Max 60 is pretty stiff though. Mm-hmm. And when we did metal casting with Evan and Caitlin, we actually it was a 1-part mold, and we made a backing plate out of metal. And I believe we clamped that. I can't quite remember. But that was even more lessons after this.
Yeah, yeah.
Also trying some different things with the pewter. For one, our little ladle is, I think, too small. So we think that ladle was designed for casting bullets one at a time. It doesn't hold a lot of material. So instead, we went and got this from the thrift store. We're gonna modify it, put a little pouring spout on it, and then we're gonna melt the pewter directly in there and then pour it from that into our mold. That way we don't have to transfer it, and we have access to the entire stock of pewter that's in there. Also, we have a thermometer so that we know how hot everything is. So that's our original hot pot over there. It's got the old pewter in it. We're gonna heat that up, transfer it into this pot once we've made our modification. And hopefully this hot plate will heat up enough to melt the pewter. We'll find out. But yeah, we're gonna get to it. And
You don't even
see
have
if
to
it
get that
works.
fancy either.
After
You
a
could
little
just
bit of love with a
blowtorch
hammer
it.
and a screwdriver.
I guess, I mean, we were pretty hesitant when we were starting melting metal. We weren't sure how hard pewter was going to be to do. So I think we just did a bunch of research online, and people were like, yeah, you get this special heater for it. And we're like, okay, we'll get it.
Yeah.
And then after we did like our first video, people were like, you just heat on a stove. And we're like,
Yeah.
So yeah, people were like, yeah, you can just cut open a aluminum can and just set it on the stove and put the pewter in there. And it's like,
Yep.
really?
The aluminum has a much higher melting point than the pewter.
Yeah, so like we didn't need to get the fancy stuff. And
Nope.
it turns out the fancy stuff we got actually didn't work as well because our container was too small for the scooping, and we didn't want to pick up the whole heater and dump it.
In a vise, I've put a little dent in there, and we're gonna put that on there and see if we can melt some pewter. It seems like it's getting pretty hot. Britt's got the temperature on there, and it claims that it is high. So we're gonna put a hunk of pewter in there and see if it melts.
Bye, Chalice Amulet.
So
That's
this
another one of our
pot
videos.
is,
Yeah.
I think, aluminum, maybe stainless steel. Either way, it's gonna have a much higher melting point than the pewter, so it probably won't melt. Probably. While the pewter is
It
heating.
wouldn't even come close to melting. it's a pot that's meant to go on a stove.
Oh, and I wasn't really paying attention to the video because I'm mesmerized by I haven't seen this video before. I don't even know if I watched it after you edited it. We use lead-free pewter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's that's something that'll come up in the comments and whenever we do pewter casting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is people are not aware that you can get pewter without lead, but that is it's actually hard to get pewter with lead down.
Right. It's hard to get anything with lead.
Yeah,
these
yeah.
days.
And if you do get pewter stuff from like the thrift store to remelt, like little figurines and stuff, just be aware of that. Could be lead in there.
Good to
So-
know.
Heating up, I can prep my
Yeah.
mold here. I'm just gonna put a little bit of baby powder on the mold, and then brush it in there. Make sure it's in all the nice details.
All these videos, the camera's
Quick
locked
note: I have
down
an
too.
air vent cut in. So I'll pour
Don't do
the
that.
molten metal
Nowadays,
down
we do
here,
everything
and
handheld,
there
if we
will be
can.
room for air to escape.
It's a
Hopefully,
good video.
so I'll get clamped up
I
like so.
feel that way about watching old videos a
and
lot of
I'll
times.
wrap
like,
it with wire.
oh yeah, we weren't totally.
I should be good to go.
Totally
well,
useless.
would you look at that?
Go us.
The
Look
hot
at it
plate
go.
does get hot enough to melt pewter. Look at it. Pretty awesome.
Blurp.
Well, this is excellent news. We can throw some more pewter in there.
I like our makeshift
melt
spout.
it all down,
Yes.
and then get ready
we
to pour it.
crimped
Okay, my
inside.
wire wrap didn't really work,
Oh,
so
no,
I just got
I
to
think
I did use a clamp.
holding the two
Yeah.
halves of my mold together.
No,
It's
I
all
know
metal.
what's
It
gonna
should be
happen.
fine. I've got it propped up on some 1, 2, 3 blocks. Everything seems fairly secure. Brittany put some more pewter in. We got a whole bunch ready to go. It's all melted.
That is warm.
Now, when we pour it, we want to make sure that any of the cruddy dross or slack.
And that's another bit of feedback I remember when we do pewter casting is, yes, the thermometer method is not the most accurate because of the reflectivity of the material and stuff, but it actually works better than we thought it did. So it doesn't need to be perfectly accurate. We just need it to be in liquid form.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think something else we've learned since this is to heat up the mold beforehand
Yeah.
to make sure it flows longer. It'll solidify slower.
Pewter cools very quickly.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay liquid for very long.
So you could just put this in like the toaster oven without the metal sides. Just leave it open.
Put the
face.
silicone in the
Yes,
toaster. Yeah.
exactly.
Or even just warm it up with a heat gun. I think.
Oh yeah,
Gives you
totally.
a little bit of help.
Yeah.
On the top there doesn't make it down into the mold. So Britt can just kind of skim off what she can.
That's fun too. At least
And
that,
then when we
that
pour
reflective,
it, make sure
perfectly
that none of
reflective.
that goes down the pouring spout.
Always reminds me of the T1000.
Yeah.
Very good. We've melted down the evil T1000
Hey,
He'll be back.
in Terminator 10. You ready to pour?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, we are ready to
See how
go.
it
Britt is
goes.
gloved up.
I don't remember
Ready?
exactly how this
I'm ready.
goes.
I'm
I
just
do.
filming.
'Cause I'm the one who did it.
Oh jeez.
Oh.
It's everywhere.
It's on the table.
It's on the table. It's okay.
in
The
my
pour went really well, though. I mean, it looks like it's in there.
I don't know. I don't think enough went in there.
It's so hard to know how much
It looks
material.
full. It's going to be
fits
like
in a
15 minutes
mold.
before we can
Yeah.
demold that, so we'll cut back shortly.
It smells like burning.
Let's see what sort of damage we did here. Oh, that's still... It's a little burny.
A
little
bit
bit.
burned.
That can
So-
go right back in the pot.
Still have that
It's
table.
fine.
We do.
It's art. Here we go. We'll just turn this into some artwork. We'll just do.
We'll see if we can remember to go take a picture of that.
artwork on the countertop, totally on purpose. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes, and the temperature has dropped. So we figure we could probably demold it. And since Britt has the gloves on, I'm going to let her do it. What's your theory about how it turned out?
Or my prediction?
Yes.
My prediction is that it didn't fill all the way.
All right.
What do you think?
It's a safe prediction.
I'm optimistic. I bet it's perfect.
Phil's always optimistic.
Let's see what this.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Almost went up the
my
whole
gosh,
spout,
it
too.
didn't fill
Go
all the way
us.
up
No,
Everything.
I think that plugged it,
Yeah,
but it looks like it was enough
Hey.
for the air to escape.
that is really impressive.
It looks like, see if I can, there is a bit of a seam. That looks pretty good. Well, that's pretty great for a first try. It's got all the knurling in there, which is
Yeah.
really what I was concerned with.
And the form printed all
And
that.
I just need to polish this thing up and it should be good to go. Well, of course I have to drill some holes in it and everything.
It's really impressive.
But yeah, level up. Our pewter casting game is definitely getting a lot better.
Yeah, we learned a lot.
Even though the part of the table kind of caught on fire. It's cool. Hi, you guys. Just happy I can play along. Okay, we think we
a
can
really
do
good
better,
edit, though.
so
You did a
we're
good
trying
job.
again. Instead
Yeah.
of clamping it and squishing the silicone a bit, because the first one ended up a tiny bit oblong, I've wrapped
It
the
did squish it. The
mold
clamp did
closed
squish it.
with,
That was a really
Aluminum
strong
tape.
clamp.
Yeah.
which shouldn't
The
melt
spring
and
clamp.
should hold it together nicely. All right, we are ready to try again.
Aluminum tape, that's pretty clever.
Yeah.
I think we
right?
can do better
It's not
this
gonna
time.
melt.
Temperature is over 500. It's over 500. So Britt's ready to go.
I'm nervous.
Oh my goodness.
I think I messed this one up too.
That looks so cool, though.
That's probably it.
In the 1, 2, 3.
I just wanted to get
Yeah.
metal inside your 1, 2, 3 block.
That's great.
Oh, look at it. Sorry about that.
All right, well, now we wait and see how we did. Looks like we made more art.
Yeah, wow.
That's
We got
pretty
a lot
well
in
stuck
there.
on there. Look at that. It dribbled all the way down through there.
That looks really cool.
It probably cooled right away, too, because this is a big heatsink. Look at the bottom.
That looks like a magnet.
That's so neat.
Well, I bet we can just hit this with a blowtorch and it'll probably all fall out.
We did. I think that's how we
Okay,
end the
tip
video.
number 2 seems to be cooled down enough. I
The
should be
tape
able
works great,
to
too.
That's cool. I
remove
forgot
my
you tried that. I have to remember that one.
aluminium tape. Time for the reveal. Ba-da-da-da.
Oh, same thing.
That looks really good. That is even better than the first one. So here are the 2 attempts. They're both pretty good, although
I mean, as the person who did the pouring, I think what we needed was a much deeper spout.
Yeah,
So like have the mold be a good 1 inch taller
Mhm.
and have a huge spout on
Like
it.
it's almost like the spout is a reservoir for molten metal that you keep filling as it pours
Yeah.
into the mold.
I mean, like for this one, almost have the spout be the size of the amount of metal you're going to
Exactly,
pour in
right?
there.
Yeah.
And that would prevent it from blocking the
yeah,
the little,
overflowing.
Yeah, and the little vent.
Yep,
It
yep.
wouldn't block the vent because it would be stuck down in the spout. But that's just my critique as a person who
Yeah.
did 2 bad pours.
It's hard to pour the pewter in a thin stream
yeah,
like you would with resin.
right. Resin is much more viscous. At least the ones we've worked with.
Yeah.
This is like it feels like water, like the
Mhm.
way it pours. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's too liquidy.
the second one is a little bit better. Just some more detail in the knurling. So cool. I'm going to keep this one because I have to drill some holes in this, and that's how I goofed up the original. So I'll practice on that one, and when I refine my technique, I will do it on this one. But if I have to, I can always cast another one. Here are the 2 that I cast today. Here is the
Yeah.
original one. I did not cast this one. This is the one I got in the
shot.
kit. You
Yeah.
can see where I goofed it up.
Yep. So
but
I was drilling it, and pewter is really soft and grippy. So the drill bit grabbed it, and it had it in a vise. So half of it stayed still, and the other half started twisting, and that's how I did that. There's no way to undo that. So that's why I had to make another one.
Was
And
it
then I don't know where I put it.
I think I got it.
Were you drilling
Pretty
that LED hole?
darn
Yeah.
Okay.
close. This is the piece that I molded. It was 3D modeled and printed on the Form 2. And then I made this mold here. and cast these parts.
That's awesome.
So all I have to do with this piece now is buff it up. It will get painted black for the final Blade Runner gun
Will it,
part.
Bill? Did you ever
But since
do that?
It's metal, I can just buff
world
it
may
with
never know.
400 grit sandpaper
happened
and then
to
use
it?
some steel wool to...
You know what we'll do, gang? In next week's vlog, I will explore the fate of these parts.
We could, like, we probably still have the mold at least. We could make
Yeah,
another
we could
one.
even make another one, but we'll explore that in next week's vlog.
bring a bit of a shine to it, and it'll be good to go. Now, something else we wanted to try out while we had all the melting stuff out was whether or not we could pour something in a non-high temperature silicone. So this is Mold Max 60, and it's designed for higher temperatures. This stuff says it'll go up to 560 degrees Fahrenheit or about 300 Celsius, which is great for casting pewter or lead, but Mold Max 30, which is a non-high temp silicone, that still says it'll do 400, right? So we melted up a batch of the pewter and poured it into this Mold Max 30 mold. And while it did get a little toasty and smoky, it totally survived.
Yeah.
You can see the
That's
finish
I think
is
the
a
real
little bit
takeaway from
tarnished
this
and
video.
kind of brownish.
That's burnt right there.
That is a little bit
Yeah.
burnt.
Yeah, looking at that now with more experience with silicone molding over the years, that yellowy look is kind of what molds end up looking like after a lot of uses. Of just being reheated over and over again, just with normal resin. So like that, I feel like has aged it like 50 pulls.
Right. Basically, it
dried it
yeah,
out.
it dries it out.
Yeah.
And so like we have molds that we've done like 80 pulls out of, and they look almost white compared to their normal color.
Yeah.
And they get really stiff and brittle, and they start to tear.
Yeah, especially tin cure silicone. Yeah.
Like this. This is tin cure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Wait.
But I bet you
Wait.
can get 2 or 3 pulls of pewter out of a mold like this. So if you only need a couple of things cast in pewter and all you have is this type of silicone, go for it. In fact, I only needed one of these, so I probably could have just used
And that's
the Mold Max 30.
the Mold
But I
Max
had some
30.
60 on
We keep that on hand for general purpose mold making. So like in the future, if I ever have to cast one pewter part, just gonna use Mold Max 30.
Yeah. Now we know.
Then I have to go buy another, because like this Mold Max 60, I made like that tiny mold, and then it just sat on a shelf for 4 years.
Yeah, and like it's really hard to mix. It's like its ratio is like 60 to 1 or something. So it's
It's
a lot
like
of part A.
100 to 17 or
Yeah.
something really specific.
And like the part B is like a little liquid dropper that you just
Yeah.
put a little in. So it's hard to get the ratio right.
it
So
stains everything.
you probably will put too much part B in it, so it'll kick within like
Way too
2
fast.
minutes. And it's so thick that bubbles get stuck in
Yeah.
it. So it's kind of a pain to work with.
It is hard to work with. So if you only need like one thing, just use a normal easy
on
silicone.
hand, so I went for it. Definitely learned a lot, especially thanks to many of the comments in our previous video. So thank you everyone for your help.
And don't pour pewter on dead tree carcass tables.
If you can avoid pouring it.
That's a AVE reference.
There we go.
He always has metal work tables because he does a lot of welding and metal work.
Yep.
And he calls wood tables dead tree carcass tables. It's good
on
stuff.
the wooden work surface, we recommend that. Well, that was a lot of fun. We learned a bit today. Definitely
was
getting
fun.
a little bit better at this metal casting, at least with pewter anyway. Of course, if you're curious about the materials or tools we used in this video, you can head down to the description. We'll have everything listed down there. Thanks so much for hanging out with us in the shop today. We learned a little bit. Hopefully you learned a little bit too that can help you on one of your upcoming proper costume projects. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next build.
Yeah. There we go. So I'm using the blowtorch to melt that pewter out, and I got it all out.
Yeah, that block has a little bit of color to it now, I believe.
Yep. We'll go. Tell you what. To end this video here, we'll go find that, and we'll go look for that spot on the workbench that got torched.
Excellent. Does that does heating that block mean it got softened at all? Do we accidentally temper it?
I probably did temper that
Oh.
part. We can run a file on it and find out.
Yeah, and then we can heat it up again and quench it.
Yeah. All right. We'll run you guys into the shop. Check that out to wrap this up.
Hey, you guys. Been a while. Glad you could stop by.
Still looking good.
And here's my toasty looking 1, 2, 3 block. It is hardened steel, and this part here is still pretty hard.
Okay.
I didn't temper it too much.
Good. Yeah, I guess we didn't heat it for that long, just hard
Yeah.
enough or long enough for the pewter.
Yeah. Anyway,
There you go. Some relics from that project. Also, I found the parts that I cast, both of them. I did at some point use some of this pewter black to blacken this one instead of painting it. And then I put it in this box and never did a thing with it. So I think what I'll do, like I said in the next vlog, is get this prepped for putting back on the gun and finally actually finishing that up. But that'll wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today.
That was really fun.
Always a fun time going back in time and seeing what we were working on a few years ago. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and as always, thanks so much for the support. It really means the world to us that you guys would spend some of your hard-earned money on helping us keep the lights on around here and making fun videos for you. So thank you very much. Keep that up. Stay safe out there, take care of one another, and be kind. And we'll see you next week with some really fun shenanigans, and hopefully I finish this silly little project that I started like 4 years ago.